Alright guys, so you're here because you are interested in maybe giving your grade, semester 2 grade a little boost in the form of a retake. Now, because of the COVID shutdown, we do not have that traditional retake option for you. So we're going to switch things up, still give you that opportunity for a little grade boost. Because yes, at the end of the day, you guys are concerned with that letter grade and your GPA. I get it. So here is your opportunity, and here's what it's going to look like. So just some reminders for you before we proceed and how we're going to do this, right? One test can be taken for up to a 5, so full replacement. A second test for up to a 4, and then up to a 3 for as many other tests as you feel necessary. All right. Now, likewise, if you can't remember whether you've already retaken one test or two, it's your job to look at your grade reports, right? There will be a comment next to any test that you've taken that will say improved on retake. Now, you may not have gotten that retake all the way up to a 5 because you didn't show that level of understanding, right? I'm just saying that your first retake, you have the opportunity to get up to a 5. Whether you do or don't get that high is dependent on how well you do on the retake, okay? Now, so I'm not going to go back and look for you. You look at your grade report. If none of the tests say improved on retake, that means you've not done any retakes, or I happen to have not checked that box, right? In which case, you could still retake one test for up to a 5, but you only get the 5 if you do enough to show that you learned enough to be awarded that 5. If you only do enough to get up to a 3 or a 4, that is going to be your new score, okay? So that's your job. First, go back and look at what your options are. Can you still get up to a 5? Yes or no? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Once you've done that and you've identified which tests you would like to retake, right, you're going to do what's called a learning from mistakes protocol, right? So the first thing you have to do is you have to find the tests for which you want to complete a retake. Right. So if they were the pencil paper tests like we took before the shutdown, right, just go through your APE stuff and find those tests, right? If it is a test that we took after the shutdown, of course you need to go back and find that Google form that's been released back to you in terms of scores and everything. Okay. So once you've found them, you will then complete what's called the learning from mistakes protocol that will be shown to you on the next slide. And the way the learning from mistakes protocol looks is this. So first, you're going to take whichever questions you missed, be it a multiple choice question or a short answer question. You're going to take those questions. You're going to restate that question in your own words. Now, the purpose of that is to make sure you actually understand what the question is asking. So take the extra minute or two to restate that question in your own words. Once you've done that, right, you need to explain. And this is where lots of people go wrong. I'm going to try to drive this point home the absolute best that I can. All right. So the key here is you need to tell me why the answer is wrong. I'm going to repeat myself multiple times in this regard. But what's important here is don't just say, oh, I circled D because I didn't read the answer properly. Do not, under any circumstances, say that. Even if it's true, do not say that. You're going to say, if D was the wrong answer, you're going to tell me why D is incorrect, right? You have to explain. Then, all right, you're going to go and find the correct answer, which if it were a multiple choice question, I likely circled it for you, or on a Google form, it will tell you which one is the correct. You're going to say, oh, A is the correct answer. No. Do not do that. You're going to tell me if A happens to be the correct answer, why is it that the answer written in for A is correct? So again, you have to explain which answer is correct and why it's correct. All right, so let's do an example. All right, so remember these two things. It is your job to show that you have corrected your thinking and now fully understand the concept. Do not just jump through the hoops and write the bare minimum. So Let's take an example from the Unit 8 test. Which of the following represents a positive feedback loop in the Arctic that is associated with anthropogenic climate change? So let's say, for example, you circled D, right? That is, you missed that question, right? You'll see a line through it on the paper test. So let's say that was number 9 or something, right? You missed that question. And then I went back and circled the correct one for you, which happens to be A. So D is incorrect, A is correct, right? So it does no good and it shows no learning for you to say, oh, I put D because I misunderstood the question. The right answer is A, right? That is not showing that you corrected your thinking. That is not showing that you fully understand the concept. So what does a good response with all 3 steps look like? Right? So you restate the question in your own words, and I'm not going to walk you guys through that part because I feel like you can do that without problem. But yes, you have to do that. 2, to address why D is wrong. Right? So notice I'm not saying anything about, oh, I misread the question. In this case, I'm saying D is wrong because if sea ice forms, that will increase albedo. So this is an albedo question, right? Which would cause sea surface temperatures to decrease rather than increase. So that states here in D, it says, if sea ice forms, ocean surface temperature increases. That is a false response, right? In fact, we would expect sea ice temperatures to decrease rather than increase. So by explaining that, that shows that you understand why D is incorrect, right? So I don't want to necessarily know you circled D because of X, Y, Z, or you just made a brain fart or something like that. Even if that's the case, your job is to show that prove to Mr. Huderberg that you know D is incorrect and why it is incorrect, right? Then, right, you will address why A is in fact correct. Okay, so in this case, you could write something such as, the correct answer is A because melting ice will decrease albedo and cause the ocean to absorb more energy, leading to warmer temperatures, right? So that explains that you understand why that response occurs, right? Okay, and then thus increases melting. This also shows that you understand that positive feedback means that the initial change is made greater by the result. Something like that. That shows me that you understand what was incorrect about your answer and why the correct answer is in fact the correct answer. So what I can't have you guys doing is submitting the bare minimum, right? And I'm not going to give you any increase in grade for that. And then following up with an email saying, hey, I submitted the learning from mistakes. How come I didn't get an increased grade? The answer to that question is you did not prove to me that you actually learned or relearned the material. Okay? So if you don't see the associated increase in your test grade, that means you didn't prove to me that you understood the material any better than what I saw beforehand. Okay? That does not mean that I don't like you. It just means that your job is to prove to me that you have a better understanding. You need to go through the steps and be thorough enough to show that that happened. All right? If you do that, I am more than happy, right, to boost that test grade for you according to the policies outlined on that first slide. All right. Hopefully this all makes sense, and feel free to ask questions if you're going through this and you're like, you know what, I don't really know why I missed this or why that's the correct answer. That's where I can come in. We can play the email game, or we can even set up a Google Meet or something. Adios.